interaction where it's constantly messaging people or like saying things. It's constantly responding in an unwelcome, artificial kind of saccharine way. So yeah, we're going to try to keep CamperBot very much like CamperBot just hangs out and listens for commands and goes and handles those commands like the computer you see in Star Trek. I mean, the computer in Star Trek doesn't suddenly start like dropping interesting tidbits in the middle of your conversation. The computer does what you ask it to do when you ask it to do it. And that's kind of like many people's vision, like certainly Google's vision for the future of artificial intelligence and these kinds of interactions. And that's how we want CamperBot to be. So the next question, Sid Gupta asked an excellent question. Can we skip the projects and complete the rest of the map first? Or should we follow the given order strictly? Please feel free to jump around if that's what you feel so inclined to do. Of course, we are spending a ton of time and energy trying to make the challenges flow and trying to make everything of consistent difficulty increase. Like, just like a good video game, you don't go and like, it doesn't suddenly spike and like you have a ridiculously hard boss and then it goes back to really easy gameplay. Like, that's bad, right? Like, you want to keep things consistently increasing in difficulty at a sane rate. And that's how we're trying to design freecodecamp's curriculum. So if you want to jump around and just, I mean, you can go straight to the zip lines. If you want to actually do the nonprofit projects, or if you want to get the certificates, you'll actually need to complete the required challenges. And for the front-end certificate, which I apologize, we haven't implemented it yet. We're working on it. That means completing the first, basically all the way up through the intermediate zip lines. If you complete the intermediate zip lines and all the things before that, you can get a front-end development certificate. The full stack certificate, we're going to start giving, it will no longer require completion of a nonprofit project. That will be optional. Of course, we strongly recommend the nonprofit projects, and we're starting some new ones right now. But basically, if you simply complete all the full curriculum, the first 800 hours, then you will be eligible for a full stack certificate. Of course, we're going to do our due diligence to verify you didn't plagiarize or anything like that, because it's critically important that you write your own code on all of these challenges, and we will verify those things before we issue certificates. Let's take a look at some other questions. Do you guys see any questions in the chat that jump out at you?
One person was mentioning, where's it gone? I'm trying to scroll your window. One person mentioned merchandise. Someone else mentioned your beard again. And someone else wants microtransactions for hints.
Microtransactions for hints. Yeah, there are a lot of good ideas here. We probably will skip money completely, like no involvement of money, no tipping of other campers. Just because what we're trying to create here is what I'll call a goodwill economy, where basically it's not about money, it's about time. You're volunteering your time to someone to help them in the challenge room, you know, and you know, your brownie points in many respects is a representation of how hard you've worked on the curriculum and how many people you've helped in the chat room, and you know how many interesting things you've shared on Camper News. Money is a completely separate thing that we don't really want to get too involved with. But on the topic of merchandising. If you haven't seen Spaceballs, there's this hilarious Mel Brooks. He's dressed up as Yoda. It's great. That's an awesome scene. We do plan to create some cool FreeCodeCamp t-shirts and sell those, and sell maybe even FreeCodeCamp hoodies and mugs and stuff like that. Of course, that's just like if you want to support us and if you want to get cool swag, we'll throw that up. We have the designer of all the FreeCodeCamp assets I think you've ever seen, like everything on freecodecamp.com. All that art was designed by a gentleman named Ryan Malm, who is in Omaha, Nebraska. He's quite a skilled illustrator and designer, and he's creating some cool designs, and we're going to do some exciting stuff with that next month. Probably where you vote for which design should be the first FreeCodeCamp t-shirt, for example.
Camperbot t-shirts for the win.
Yeah, we'll see. Camperbot may be incorporated, but these will probably be original designs. And we'll just put it to a vote within the community. And then if you want, you can get a FreeCodeCamp t-shirt, and it should be pretty cool. And that should give us a little bit of money, because we'd much rather like give you everything for free. FreeCodeCamp's never going to charge anybody to use FreeCodeCamp. We're never going to charge the nonprofits. We're never going to sell your data. We're never going to, hopefully, never put up ugly banner ads or anything like that. Like, if we can have t-shirts on the side and people can buy t-shirts, and that gives us enough money to keep our servers spinning, and the core contributors like eating burritos at least, like that's good for the shorter term. So that's definitely something we're interested in doing. Let's see what else is coming on. Upgrade to Eric Elliott level JS developer, only $2,999. That sounds like a pretty good Udemy course. If you want to create a Udemy course, all you need to do is have it be free for a day and promote it on Reddit, and then the next day you just set the price to $2,999 and say, thousands of people have taken this course. You should pay $2,999 to do so too.
So one good question I saw is that this person's contributed a few times to the repo, and was wondering, how do they get added to a contributor group?
How do you get added to a contributor group? Well, excellent question. Berkeley and I have talked about this a lot. Berkeley, did we create that document, that wiki article yet?
For issue moderators?
Yes. Yeah. Do we create that yet? The issue moderator?
The issue moderators wiki is up.
Oh, okay, great. Let me find that and I'll drop that in the chat. Wiki. Let's see. Issue moderator. Oh, I'll just search it.
Just issue -mod.
Okay, so issue mods. So Berkeley authored this 16 hours ago. It's pretty recent. So I'll just drop this in the chat. But yeah, essentially we have Ben Shanker and Abusek, or who's the other Abbas?
Right now it's just Ben.
Okay, so we can add additional people too that have been actively helping moderate our issues. And we say moderate, basically they're commenting and getting more information, and they're determining whether they're duplicates, and they're closing issues that are no longer relevant, for example. And they're trying to do so in as polite a manner as possible. That's one of the requirements, is if you comment on issues, please be very polite. Keep in mind that many issues, it's like the person who created that issue, it's their first time to ever create a GitHub issue. But I posted that in the chat, so you can check that out. Can we get time in UTC of the live stream? Somebody asked. That's a good question. I'll be honest. About 80%, well, about 50% of FreeCodeCamp's campers right now are in the United States, and about 2/3 of people in the United States live on the East Coast. So that's why we do all of our times in Eastern Standard Time, is because like probably a good 40% or 30% of our campers are like, that's their local time. So they don't even have to think about it. Everybody else has to think about it. I mean, even though Berkeley and I are in San Francisco, we still put Eastern Standard Time, and we just adapt to that. We do it for the utilitarian reason that seems to be where most people are that are currently using FreeCodeCamp. Of course, as we grow as a community, that will cease to exist. And then sometime in the future, UTC may make better sense. But I don't even know what UTC time zone I'm in, frankly. Like I just don't really use UTC.
We should just use Unix timestamps.
Yeah, just use a Unix timestamp. Then everybody can go and use a Unix timestamp converter. Actually, that won't address the time zone issue, though, will it? Because that's just like
Unix timestamps don't have time zones. They're standard.
Oh, okay.
So we just pick a number of seconds into the future.
Yeah. So what we can do is like to not have to use that. We'll just say FreeCodeCamp's live stream will start in 60,543 seconds or something like that.
Yeah.
It's also very quick. There is a widget in Google for converting things. You can do whatever.
So one
5
thing.
p.m. EST to GMT, and it does it straight away for you. It tells you. You don't have to go to the site.
So I use this thing. You can probably see my screen. I use this thing called Figure It Out, and it just shows me some different relevant time zones. And I'll add GMT here.
You probably have to put in like, yeah.
Is that like so? Is it?
Yeah, it's fine. No, not going to the United States. I think that says BST will be fine.
BST is that the mean time basically?
Ooh,
where
I think
is
so. Dublin's definitely on GMT anyway. If you want to use that, that's what I use.
Oh my gosh, they don't have UTC in this app. Okay, that's an issue request. I'm gonna create an issue there because they should definitely have that. So we're like way over time. Let's just keep going through these questions real quick. I want to answer as many as possible. Anyone have a really hard time with the bonfires? Yes, that's why we're creating the bonfires. Camperbot hints. What about code we write when working with another camper? Well, on our freeCodeCamp, you have the option of including them as your pair, and basically the code will be attributed to both you and the person you pair programmed on, and that starts with the bonfires, and that also includes the zip lines and the base jumps. So we do encourage pair programming, and if you do it, you don't need to like go and have the other person submit a duplicate thing. If you pair programmed with somebody and you list it as pair programming, then we're going to assume that you did it together, and that's totally cool. It's totally cool to collaborate on code. What we don't want is you Googling like bonfire solution, blah, 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 mutations, and grabbing the solution and pasting it in and submitting it and moving on. Like, we don't want people to do that. Obviously, the solutions are all over the place. We're even throwing the solutions up ourselves, and we're just having a spoil alert. But you should be writing your own code. It's like the old aphorism, if you cheat, the only person you're cheating is yourself. And that's how we feel at freeCodeCamp. We're not going to try to prevent that sort of stuff because, honestly, it's up to you. Only you can prevent cheating. Is there any game development going on? How do I check my brownie points? So if you could just go to freeCodeCamp.org, and if you're signed in the upper right-hand corner, you'll see your brownie points.
One interesting thing that seems to be put up is that there's one person mentioning a thread on Reddit they were lamenting is the word that he used about the fact that people, noobs with 2 zeros obviously, were being thrown into non-profit projects and taking jobs away from paid developers and then leaving bad code for them to follow up with. And I thought I'd just quickly comment on that.
Sure.
That I don't know if this is the case in the States, but certainly here when I'm based in Ireland, and I'm imagining the States as well, because this is the reality of the world, is that very few people actually understand what programming is, what developing is, or what any of this means. There are a huge number of what I'd call snake oil salesmen who claim to know what they're doing and charge people ridiculous money for solutions that they don't need or aren't worth as much as they're charging. And they have really, really bad, unmaintainable code. And there's people who make livings out of fixing these issues. I know I've done free work for people with WordPress where a developer had done really sloppy job with the code base and used to go through and figure it out and try and reverse engineer to fix it using their sloppy system. So I think that at least if they're going to freeCodeCamp, they have a certain minimum quality standard because we vet people before they go into the non-profits. And then the non-profits decide that they're happy with the solution and that we actually do check if it's not a seeming pile of whatever. So there is like a minimum quality guarantee. So it's not like these people they don't have college degrees, they don't have 20 years of experience. But what they do have is that they have a good standard of programming in JavaScript, and they know how to use Node, they know how to use Bootstrap, they know how to use all these technologies which are really common and create a really nice solution. And so that would be my response to people who complain about people being thrown out. Not to mention that anyone who goes through a boot camp is technically the same, except they haven't done a non-profit project.
Right.
And they regard it as being great. So I think we're guaranteeing a bit more.
Yeah. And just on that note, we definitely want to help nonprofits. If you know nonprofits that are interested in getting some free coding work done, please send them our